Internets! My word, it's been a while, and for this I must apologise. I'll hopefully be a little bit more on the schedule with Tech Royale over the next couple of months, because there's plenty coming up this summer. What's out in the past few weeks? Well, we've had Google I/O, which has brought a few things out of the woodwork, and we've also had the announcement of Windows Phone 8 as well, which definitely shows us where Microsoft is going with its phone strategy, along with Microsoft Surface as well. So it looks like they've actually finally got a plan, as opposed to standing there looking at Apple and going, why are they doing so well? But I'm very, very sad to report there's also been a death in the family. Yes. My network drive has died. Goddamn thing. There's a 500 gig Buffalo link station. I've had it for just over 3 years, and to be fair, it's been on every day for those 3 years. I got it as a Christmas present. I wired it up, plugged it into the network, and proceeded to fill it up with stuff. And it's been absolutely flawless up until about 3 weeks ago. I think it might have something to do with the fact that it never powered the drive down, although there are competing schools of thought as to whether you're better off leaving drives on constantly or letting them use their power saving functions. But nonetheless, it has died. No problem. It's a network drive. I should just be able to, replace the disk. It's SATA. It's not anything particularly special. No. The older Buffalo link stations had all of their operating system on flash. But these newer ones, no. The operating system is on the disk. There is a very, very, very basic bootstrap on board, and that's it. So you need a Windows box, and you need to disconnect your Windows box from the network and patch it directly to your network drive once you've put the new disk in there, and go through a ridiculously complicated state of affairs, which is basically like a dumb network boot whilst it pulls the firmware from your computer over to the special space that it reserves on the disk. So up until this point in time, if somebody had said, I'd like a reasonably priced consumer network drive, I'd have said, Buffalo link station, go for your life. It doesn't power down, but it seems to be fine. Now I come to trying to bring it back to life, and all of a sudden I'm a little bit, I sent Buffalo an email and received, guess what? Absolutely nothing. They didn't even bother to return my email to say, sorry, it's died, not a lot we're going to do about it, but hope you've enjoyed it up to this point, and hope you give us some more money in future. Well, at the moment, Buffalo, I ain't planning on doing that anytime soon. Thanks for nothing. Fortunately, I've got a line on a replacement network enclosure, one that is designed to have its drives replaced when they die on you, and potentially a new disk as well. So for the time being, I'm just managing with the storage in my Hackintosh, and I'm getting by with that. But thanks a lot, Buffalo. Thanks a bunch. Anyway, Google I/O and the Nexus 7. Well, congratulations, Google. I was wondering if you were going to capitalise on that sort of hole in your lineup. You decided to make the Nexus phones after potentially being dissatisfied with what the manufacturers were doing out there with the phones, and looking at the giant swathe of meh, apart from the good old Transformer series, as far as everything else is on the market for an Android tablet. You've done two things. One, you've proved that such a device can be made for a very, very reasonable amount of money, and two, you have killed the Kindle Fire before it even really got off the ground. Apparently it was doing well in the States, but they hadn't deigned to release it to us over here on the continent. So, it's pretty much stillborn beforehand, because from what I'm reading, the Nexus 7 is just a vastly better device. The battery lasts longer, the screen is better, and it's more powerful due to the Tegra 3 chipset. And it's also not hobbled with a bizarre, weirdo version of Android that's nowhere near the main path. No, what you get is a good old pure Android device. And since Ice Cream Sandwich, pure Android, as far as I'm concerned, is the way forward. I've had a good play with Ice Cream Sandwich recently. I installed the emulator on the old Hackintosh, and it's a really nice user interface. It strikes me as it's potentially in front of iOS. Not up to the niceties of Windows Phone 7 or 8, but it's still really good. It's crisp and clean out of the box, and you can do what you want with it, which you can't do on iOS. So yeah, Nexus 7 tablet, it's going to sell phenomenally well. I know a couple of people at my work who've already pre-ordered them. It's the right price point, £160 for an 8GB or £200 for a 16, absolute bargain. If they put a micro SD slot on it, it would be perfect. As it is, they're pushing their cloud service and this isn't really available in the UK, so we'll have to see if that affects the take-up, but I'm pretty confidently predicting that the Nexus 7 is going to be a hit and will prove to be sold out in most major gadget retailers for a goodly number of weeks after it actually comes out. So, kudos to Google, smart move. The Nexus Q, I still don't understand. It's a music and video streamer that only works with Google Play, but it has a built-in amplifier, so all you do is connect it up to a set of bookshelf speakers. This sounds to me like the sort of personal crusade project that, you know, there are hundreds and hundreds of them in major tech corporations, but they never see the light of day because somebody sticks a prototype together and a manager says, it's very, very nice, but we'll only sell 6 of them, so don't bother. Somehow somebody at Google has given the green light on this oddity, and it's $299. I'll just say that again, it's $299. An Apple TV, which bizarrely does more out of the box, and I thought Apple TV was one of the least featured media streamers out there, but nonetheless, that is only $99 in a good old US of A. So they're charging 3 times more for something that does less, apart from the fact it has what on paper is a very nice onboard amplifier, but I just don't get it. I'm sure it's a gorgeous device, but I'm pretty sure nobody will buy one and it will be adorning bargain bins the length and breadth of the US inside 6 months' time. It is Google's iPod speaker. There's another Tech Royale prediction for you there, guys and gals. I mentioned Windows Phone 7 / Windows Phone 8. Microsoft, after shocking everybody with Surface and saying, hey, we're going to make our own iPad, sorry, Fondle Slab, sorry, tablet. But that was kind of an understandable thing. Microsoft want Windows 8 to be a success, and they are, again, like Google, obviously weren't happy with what the OEMs were doing. So Surface is there to give them a kick up the backside, I think. Now, I have a sneaking suspicion that, and other people on the web have said this, that Surface will never actually make it to market. It purely is an exercise in Microsoft saying to the OEMs, make better products. Make them as good as they need to be to take on the big white fruit-based elephant in the room. So if Surface comes out, gravy. It'll be a lovely implementation, and I think Surface Pro with actual x86, if they can make the battery life decent, will go an absolute storm with corporates, because many corporates are still struggling with the integration of iOS, even though everybody wants it. You know, you go into a reasonable level meeting these days and half the people there whip out an iPad to take notes on and give presentations with. Anyway, Windows Phone 8 was more of a surprise to me than Surface, because I didn't honestly think this soon, after throwing the baby out bathwater and all with Windows Phone 7, they would have the cojones to do it all again with Windows Phone 8. Now, admittedly, Windows Phone 7 applications will run on Windows Phone 8, and some Windows Phone 8 applications will run on Windows Phone 7. But to say to everybody that has a Windows Phone 7 device, that's it. Sorry chaps, end of the line. What, 18 months in? Is it two years into Windows Phone 7, 7.5, and now 7.8, which will be the release that will at least give the look of Windows Phone 8 to poor Windows Phone 7 users. Windows Phone Olive Branch Edition, if you will. Very gutsy move from Microsoft. One almost thinks this is what they should have done with Windows Phone 7, but if they hadn't done something with Windows Mobile at the time, they wouldn't have been a player in the mobile space at this point. They needed an interim solution, and Windows Phone 7 was it. No, I don't think any of us realised that Windows Phone 7 was an interim. We thought this was the new hotness, and this was the way forward. And as I've said before, and will continue to say again, it really did show the marketplace how to bring a gorgeous, fluid, intuitive user interface and put it in the hands of everybody without dumbing it down, because it doesn't need to be dumbed down. It's really, really lovely. But to, throw away 2 years worth of people's hardware investment is a gutsy move. It brings us core parity with Windows 8, so people will be able to port applications from the desktop to Windows Phone much easier, and they'll already be writing for Metro because of Windows 8. So Windows 8, Windows Phone 8, this is the answer to the question, how is Microsoft going to merge its, supposedly at the time they were, differing strategies between the desktop and the mobile? And they've answered that quite comprehensively. What remains to be seen is, can they leverage it? Have they done too much damage to the Windows Phone ecosystem with this throwing out of the bathwater baby and all? Or will the market forgive them? Will Windows Phone 7 users upgrade to Windows Phone 8 and Windows Phone 8 continue with the slow build that Windows Phone 7 has been on for at least the last sort of 6, maybe 8 months, ever since Nokia started bringing decent hardware to market? Or is this simply a step too far? Let me know what you think, sound off in the comments. So anyway, really good to see you all again, and the next Tech Royale should be a little bit sooner after this than this one has been after its predecessors. So take care, Internet, and I'll speak to you soon. Oh, and bring back Games Master.